Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, before we get started, I want to encourage people to follow me on Twitter at New Pos Blog. Also, I want to encourage you to follow me on Facebook as well. And also, I wanted to let you know that there are going to be a couple of changes to my channel. I did a couple of surveys, and apparently, a lot of my subscribers prefer recorded videos over live streams. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably have far less live streams. I will probably have live streams like once a week, but then throughout the week, I'll have recorded videos that I post on my channel. So I hope that you all can check it out. And I'm really interested in hearing more from you. You will notice on my page, I posted a series of surveys. I would be interested in hearing your responses to those surveys. So if you haven't responded to the surveys that I posted on my page, I encourage you to check those out. Shout out to John Pro. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so so I encourage you all to answer those surveys where I ask series of questions because I want to make sure that this channel provides you with what you want, what you're expecting from a channel. I want to provide high quality content that's, obviously in tune with what I'm all about. I'll stay true to my principles and everything and true to my positions, but I want to make sure that, I'm tailoring my program to the needs of my subscribers. So I encourage you all to respond to the surveys that I have posted on my page. The other thing is this, I want to talk about this subject, and I have to shout out, one of my subscribers for recommending that I talk about this particular subject, dealing with Ice Cube meeting with members of the Trump administration and the Trump campaign. So let's get right into it. I'm going to share my screen so that you all can see the article that I'm referencing and other sources that I will reference in this particular video. And I'm going to play excerpts from Ice Cube's video that he posted on his Instagram page, where he talks about this whole thing and he talks about Democrats versus Republicans and all of that. So just bear with me a second. I'm going to share my screen now. So you have this article from Rolling Out, and it's talking about how Ice Cube is taking heat for working with the Trump campaign. And, I noticed it on my Facebook page. I looked on Facebook today. I haven't been on Facebook for a few days, and I plan on not being on Facebook for a while. But I looked on my Facebook page, and I saw some people complaining about Ice Cube. And basically, he met with members of the Trump administration to discuss his contract with America, as you all know, with Black America rather. As you all know, a while ago, Ice Cube put out a statement on social media where he was basically saying that we're not going to be taken for granted, and he talked about what kind of things need to be done to address the concerns of the Black community. And he reached out to, apparently he reached out to Democrats and Republicans. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So this article says that today, Katrina Pearson of the Trump campaign announced that rapper Ice Cube helped with the Platinum Plan. And I'm going to go into that plan, and I'll show an article from CNN that talks about some of the highlights of that plan. It said it's a $500 billion package proposed by Republicans to help the Black community. And this is what she said in her tweet. She said, shout out to Ice Cube for his willingness to work with the Trump campaign on the Platinum Plan. And it goes on to say that Ice Cube, who is nonpartisan, posted a video on social media on October 11th and stated that he met with Republicans and Democrats to discuss the plan. And then, he put out this tweet where he said, facts, I put out the contract with Black America. Both parties contacted me. Democrats said that they will address the contract with Black America after the election. And then he goes on to say that the Trump campaign made some adjustments to their plan after talking to us about the contract with Black America. And so you had all these different reactions, and I'm not going to go into them. And, you know, I'm not going to read all these different reactions that people had. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to play this audio from Ice Cube where he's talking about this whole issue. So hopefully you all can hear it. Let me turn it up. Just bear with me a second.
Systems in place. What's happening, fam? You already know how I get down. Over the last few months, I've been really going deep into this political space. You know, reading a lot of history, trying to understand how systems work, not getting caught up in anybody's rhetoric, but looking for my damn self, and just trying to figure out why we continue to, flounder at the bottom. What is it? And what I found is that it's systems in place, as we all know. It ain't because, we ain't doing what we supposed to do as Black people, because, of course, we all can do better. There's shit that we need to do to clean up ourselves and our community. But besides that shit, the system is fucked up. It's just designed totally. And not only designed, but there's a dedication to keeping us at the bottom of this country. And I don't know if we can count on any parties to get us out the shit, to be honest. So we are going to have to do a lot of things different as a Black community. We have to pool our resources. We have to think about ourselves. We love all the other races of the world, but at some point we got to figure out how do we get ahead, because everybody's on top of us but us, or everybody's on top of us. And this shit ain't gonna work. We ain't gonna survive this the way it's going. It's just designed that I can't see the future. So we gotta change this shit. Everybody's been mad at me because I haven't been on the fucking, the gravy train of these candidates, especially Joe Biden and Harris. I don't trust none of them. No president has done right by us. So I don't trust none of them. So putting our hopes and dreams behind any of them just don't work. We gotta make them do what we want them to do. And there's only a few ways to do that. Now, I've been making contacts, trying to, talk about these real issues, straight up, I believe the Democrats they've been nice, they've been cordial, so to speak. I don't really see them pushing their policies in any different direction. They're still talking this minority people of color shit that don't necessarily include us, that don't necessarily include Black Americans, especially descendants of slaves, ADOS, American descendants of slaves. That ain't specifically us, it's everybody. We ain't gonna get shit. Because when you look around, everybody hates us. So we still at the bottom of that. So, I think the Democrats, they got every black celebrity and shit on their team, so they just figure, tell kids shut the fuck up and vote. And so I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna push the program. We got a program, I'm pushing it on everybody. We also met with the Republicans and shit. They brought us in. We talked to them. They moved the agenda a lot because of what we said. They put $500 billion on the table, and but who knows? Who knows what's gonna really happen? I just know one of them gonna win, and I don't know if it can really matter to us. We gotta just push whoever is in there, because ain't nobody really solved our problems. People say we can't take another 4 years of this. Black people, we can take anything. Shit. Joe Biden, the Democrats, I believe they owe us. Will they do right by us at the end of the day? Who knows? I think the plan they have is they're doing a lot when it comes to safety and police and all this shit, but that dough is thin. Everybody money is thin. We're not gonna get no respect in this country without the cash. We ain't gonna get no respect in this country without having money in our community. It just ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So everybody can be mad at me, pissed off at me. I don't give, hey, y'all know what it is. I'm trying to get to the truth. I ain't about to be part of nobody program. Ain't nobody gonna, get me to back down. And if y'all don't want to hear the truth, then that's your, that's kind of a personal problem. Because I'm going to keep spitting it how I see it, and I think the problem is we a little too one-sided, and we need to hold everybody to the fire and make sure everybody do what they're supposed to do when it comes to black people, not get caught up in a whole lot of white people business. Need to worry about our home, what's going on with us. And then when we get what we got to get, then we'll, welcome everybody. But we got to make a decision, and we got to push people to do something big and do it right now.
Okay, so that was Ice Cube. So let me stop sharing my screen for a second. And I just want to share some of my thoughts about what Ice Cube had to say. And I will get to your comments. Again, before I go further, I just want to let people know that I will be changing my format for the program. I'm probably going to limit live streams to once a week, and then throughout the week have recorded videos. But I want to respond to a lot of the things that Ice Cube had to say. And so what I'm going to do is walk through some of the things that he had to say, and then I'm going to get into this whole platinum plan that he discussed. The first thing I'll say is this, I think that it was a big mistake for the Democrats not to meet with Ice Cube, to tell him that they'll, respond or discuss it after the election. I think that was a bad move. Like, even though Ice Cube is not an elected official, even though he's not some kind of leader of any kind of movement, I still think that it was a bad move on their part It was a missed opportunity. And unfortunately, it helps play into that narrative that the Democrats take the Black vote for granted. And I just think that that's what it does. It helps perpetuate that narrative, and that only empowers Republicans. And I just think that that was a missed opportunity. They could have met with Ice Cube and they could have discussed his concerns. That wouldn't have taken much to do. So again, that was a missed opportunity. And it's just a shame that now, these Republicans are able to play on the fact that that was a missed opportunity. The other thing that I want to talk about is what Ice Cube had to say about systems being in place to basically hold Black people down. I think that that's a very valid point. This country was founded on racism. This country is perpetuated by racism. I mean, first of all, we got to look at how it was founded. I mean, it was founded on the extermination of the native peoples. The economy was literally built on the backs of Black people, on the enslavement of Black people. And then after slavery, for decades, you have Black people subjected to Jim Crow oppression. And even today, you have problems of mass incarceration. You have all kinds of problems in education. You have massive wealth disparities. These things are not an accident. They are by design. And I think that that's a valid point that this brother brought up about the nature of this system. And ultimately, this whole fundamental system has to be changed. It has to be fundamentally restructured. We need revolutionary change. So I think that that was a very valid point, because we do have a system in place where Black people are at the bottom of every social indicator in this society. Whether we're talking about education, we're talking about healthcare, we're talking about the criminal justice system. If you're talking about wealth building and the lack of wealth in Black communities, you're talking about the unemployment rate, all of these factors, Black people are at the lower rung of the social ladder in all those areas. And that speaks to a system of oppression. And, I'm glad that this brother brought up this point. And that system of oppression will not be dismantled simply by you casting your vote. As you all know, voting is very important. It's something that I stress on here time and time again. It's something that I aggressively advocate for. And I believe that we do need to be active participants in the electoral process. But I'm under no delusions that simply voting alone is going to solve all these problems that we face. I think that it's one means to address some of the problems that we have in our community, but it's only part of the process. After you cast your ballot, it's up to you, to hold these elected officials accountable. Number one, we have to hold them accountable before we even put them in office. We can't simply vote for people simply because they're a Democrat, because they have a D behind their name on some ballot. We have to find out what is their positions on the issues, and do those positions benefit us? That's what we have to do. We really realistically have to look at what these candidates have to offer. And when they have a certain position, we need to have our agenda. And there are plenty of Black groups that do have agendas that they present to these candidates. And we need to hold them accountable, tell them that we can't support you if you don't support us on X, Y, and Z issues. Just like any other group does in this country, whether we're talking about the immigrant groups, the LGBT people, the women's groups, the pro-Israel lobby, the unions, all of these groups have agendas that they aggressively push towards candidates. And that's exactly what we need to do. The answer is not just sitting back at home after you cast your ballot and thinking you can chill. You still have to lobby these elected officials, push these elected officials by, sending letters, doing petitions, engaging in aggressive protesting. That's how you bring attention to these issues. That's how you ensure that these candidates address these issues. Now, Ice Cube talked about how people are upset because he's not going on the bandwagon, I guess, of supporting Joe Biden and all that kind of stuff, unlike a lot of celebrities. And I mean, frankly, I understand why people would be upset, because here is not like a situation where you have some close decision between two candidates that share a lot in common or have similar positions on a lot of the issues. This is not that kind of case. This is a situation where you have fundamental differences between these candidates. This is a situation where you have one candidate that has proven that he is hostile to the interests of Black people. It's not even a close question at all. This Donald Trump has proven that he doesn't give a damn about the interests of Black people. And I'll talk about his little plan to basically trick and bamboozle a few ignorant Black people into supporting him. But this man has proven that he's openly hostile to Black people. I mean, the mere fact that people literally had to twist his arm in order to get him to condemn white supremacists, that alone speaks volumes. Here you have a man who was endorsed by the Klan, who was endorsed by David Duke. And when asked about this, when asked to denounce David Duke and all that kind of stuff, this man all of a sudden had amnesia. He couldn't remember. He didn't know who David Duke was, even though David Duke is a public figure, a known hate monger, somebody with a long track record of hatred and white supremacy. You got this guy, Donald Trump, acting like he had no idea who David Duke was. So, he wasn't quick to even denounce the KKK during that particular interview on CNN. He did not denounce David Duke, a grand wizard of the KKK, somebody who has a long history, decades-long history of promoting hatred against Black people. And then you have the example of during the debates. Like during the debates, he was asked to condemn white supremacists. And instead of directly just condemning white supremacists, this man basically tap danced around the issue. And then he had the audacity, he had the gall to talk about, this racist group, Proud Boys. He was asked to denounce them. But instead of just, denouncing them, he told them to stand back and to stand by. Just like you tell some troops, hold off for now, stand by, we'll give you the order when it's time to go in. And that group, Proud Boys, is a racist organization. It's an organization with a history of violence, a history of attacking people and all that kind of stuff. That's the history of this group. And that's the group that this man told to stand back and to stand by. It was only under great pressure that he eventually condemned these white supremacists. But we can't forget that this is an administration who when speaking about those people in Charlottesville, those racists, those white supremacists, those neo-Nazis, those alt-right fanatics, those KKK people, when speaking about those people, this man referred to them as some very fine people. He said, you got some very fine people on both sides. So this man is like making it abundantly clear that he's rocking with these white supremacists. That's, and that's part of his base. It is no coincidence that his rhetoric is tied to all this anti-immigrant hate, which is an example of racism. When, he started his campaign, with anti-Obama rhetoric, basically questioning the first Black president's citizenship, nothing, and that's nothing but a racial dog whistle for white supremacists. Then he also kicked off his campaign by calling Mexican immigrants rapists and criminals and stuff like that. That's how he started his campaign off, talking about build that wall. And this is a man who's made it abundantly clear that he doesn't give a damn about police brutality. That is not a priority for his administration. He's the one that, That made all these statements, like his administration told you that police brutality is a local issue, is not an issue for the federal government. His U.S. Attorney General said basically that there's no such thing as institutionalized racism in America right now. Despite all this violence that our people are experiencing at the hands of these stinking pig police, they want to tell you and me that there's no problem with institutionalized racism in America, in this criminal justice system, in the police system. That's what they want to tell us. Despite all the George Floyds, despite all the Breonna Taylors, despite all of these examples, the Walter Scotts, the Sam Dubose, the Eric Garners, and et cetera, despite all these daily reminders of the brutality of these police, they want us to forget, or they want to pretend like there's no problem of institutionalized racism in this country. That's the Trump administration. The Trump administration is the one attacking affirmative action, a program that makes it possible for people like myself to get a higher education. For a lot of us, affirmative action made it possible for us to have opportunity, and they want to slam the doors of opportunity. They want to take away, in addition to that, they want to take away housing assistance that a disproportionate number of Black people rely on. They want to take away food assistance that a disproportionate number of Black people rely on. And on top of all of that, this Trump administration has aggressively attacked voting rights in this country, through a sham voter fraud investigation designed to do nothing but to suppress voters. And we saw what the Trump administration did with respect to the post office. We have a Trump administration that is egging on hostility towards Black people. But yet and still, you have these people that are on the fence that somehow want to see Biden and Donald Trump as equivalent to one another when it comes to issues of civil rights. And a lot of these people, what they do is they dig up stuff from way back in the 70s to try to find dirt on Joe Biden and some things that he's done and all that kind of stuff from way back then, when we have all these examples today of what Donald Trump is doing that's hostile to our interests. So I don't see this as some close call or anything like that. And it's just unfortunate that you have, people like Ice Cube basically making it seem like, these two parties are similar, they're the same, or basically, and all that kind of stuff. And I just think that that's a problem. And one of the things that people have to be aware of when they hear this kind of stuff, and I'm not saying that Ice Cube is doing something nefarious or he has bad intentions. I think that he's sincere. He sincerely believes what he's saying and stuff. But we got to understand that in 2016, the Trump administration had a strategy that was designed to literally deter Black people from voting. That's what it was designed to do, to deter Black people from voting. Like a lot of times, campaigns, what they do is they try to turn out the vote. They try to get out the vote, to get as many people as possible to vote. That's what they try to do. They make calls to encourage people. But here you had a Trump administration that deliberately tried to discourage people from voting. They used social media and all that kind of stuff by painting such a horrible picture of the opposition that people would just say, hey, I'm just staying at home. And all that does is help Donald Trump. That's all it does, is help elect a man who has proven that he's openly hostile to your interests as a people. I don't know what more people need to see. Just because he has some token Negro woman on his campaign, that Katrina Pearson on his campaign, that don't mean nothing. That means absolutely nothing when it comes to the issues that affect Black people. So I just think that the unfortunate effect of what Cube is saying is going to deter it may deter a lot of people from voting. A lot of people may just be like, man, I'm not voting, um, and all that kind of stuff. So, that's one of my big concerns about, his statement, his statements basically suggesting that none of the presidents have done anything to help improve the plight of Black people and all that kind of stuff, and basically making it seem like these parties are on equal playing field or equally as bad and all that kind of stuff. And I just think that that's simply not true. And then, I want to deal with this whole notion that both of these parties, that no president has done anything for us. I just think that that's just not correct. You can say that these presidents haven't done enough for the Black community, that there's so much more that they could be doing for the Black community. But I just think it's fundamentally false to say that they have done nothing to improve our situation. I mean, all you have to do is look back at the Obama administration and compare it to this Trump administration. The rise in employment figures for Black people is a result of what Obama did. We have to remember that when Obama took office, the economy was in shambles. Many Black people were losing their home. There was a housing foreclosure crisis going on. You had the economy crashing. You had high numbers of unemployment in the Black community. But because of the reforms that Obama implemented, many Black people were able to get jobs. The unemployment rate in the Black community has been on a steady decline because of the work that Obama laid down during his administration. So that's one thing that the Obama administration did for Black people. When you look at these police departments, it was the Obama administration's Justice Department that aggressively investigated police departments, entered major consent decrees with those police departments to implement reforms designed to reduce excessive use of force and to address racial profiling, whether we're talking about here in Baltimore or Ferguson, and other places. Major reforms that improve those police departments. They're far from perfect, but that's a step forward. So that's one of the major things that Obama did. On an issue like Trayvon Martin, Obama spoke out boldly on that issue and was roundly condemned by people. He talked about if he had a son, he would be like Trayvon, or he would look like Trayvon and be subjected to the same kinds of racial profiling that Trayvon Martin was subjected to. So you had a policing issue. You have affirmative action. The Obama administration aggressively defended affirmative action and voting rights. It defended affirmative action in the case of University of Texas versus Fisher, and it defended voting rights in that case of Shelby County versus Holder. Defended voting rights against the onslaught from the right. And the Obama administration was responsible for many cases, supporting many cases, defending different types of voting rights in this country. So you had those things. You have the Brothers Keeper program, a program designed to help Black youth, Black young men in particular. You have the Excellence in Black Education executive order by the Obama administration. You had the Fair Sentencing Act that reduced the sentencing disparity between crack cocaine and powder cocaine, a disparity that resulted in the disproportionate incarceration of Black people. And then you look at other issues involving reforms within the Justice Department, where they were no longer seeking mandatory minimums for nonviolent offenders. And you look at Obama's decision to grant clemency to many nonviolent offenders, many of whom were Black. And the last thing I'll mention, there are plenty of other examples, but the last thing I'll mention is healthcare reform. The Affordable Care Act helped make it possible for many African Americans who were disproportionately uninsured to get insurance. So there are many things that the Obama administration did that helped the Black community. So that's just one administration. So I reject this notion that no president has done right by Black people. Even a president like Lyndon B. Johnson, who he's from the South. He made racist statements and stuff like that. Even he helped pass very important, fundamental, landmark civil rights legislation. So let's not say that no president has done right by us. There are plenty of examples, but it's up to us to make sure that these elected officials do right by us. It's up to us to hold them accountable. We can't just stop at voting for somebody and thinking, oh, they're going to solve our problems. No elected official in and of themselves are going to solve all the problems facing Black America. Many of the problems have to be solved by us doing our part, and not just sitting around waiting for some Messiah to rescue us. So that's one thing that I wanted to talk about. Another thing that Ice Cube brought up was this. He said that the Democrats owe us. And they definitely do. I believe that without I agree with him 100% on that, because Joe Biden would not be the nominee for the Democratic, for presidency if it wasn't for Black people. If it wasn't for Black people in the South in particular. A Democrat cannot win the White House without Black support. So the Democrats are in debt to the Black community, and we need to leverage that. And many people, one of the ways that they leveraged it is to demand that, Biden nominate a Black woman as his vice president. That was one, that's one thing, but that's a minor, like, as far as I'm concerned, that's, it's significant, but there are others more significant things that Biden should do to help the Black community for all the support that the Black community gave his campaign. So no other group of people is more loyal to the Democratic Party than the Black community. No group of people, period. Not the Hispanics, not white women, not any group of people. No other group of people, not white men. None of these groups of people are more loyal to this Democratic Party than the Black community. And we need to leverage that. We need to leverage it and use it to empower our community. When it comes to these appointments to these different committees, and in the Senate and in the House, a lot of Black people have been appointed to those things, and more Black people need to be appointed to those positions. We need to have a Black person on the Supreme Court, a Black nominee to the Supreme Court, if there's a Biden administration, if Biden is elected. That needs to be a top priority. And the issue of reparations needs to be aggressively pushed on this Biden administration if they're elected. That's something that we need to aggressively push. All the support that we give to those Democrats. So I think that that's a valid point about how the Democrats do owe the Black community. Another point that he raised, and I will get to your comments. Hopefully I'll be able to get to them tonight. I'll go over as many of them as I can. The other point that he raised was this whole issue of, labeling Black people as a part of just minorities and people of color. And I think that that's a valid criticism. Black people can't just be lumped in this group of minorities, as if to suggest that by addressing quote unquote minority issues in general, you're addressing the specific problems of the Black community. And that's just simply not the case. No, we are a unique group of people with a unique history, with a unique experience and a unique relationship to this American society. Our problems are unique. Our problems are specific. And these problems need to be specifically addressed by the society, not just addressed in some general form that helps out every single body, regardless of them being Black and all that kind of stuff, where it scoops in all these other minorities and stuff. The African American has specific problems that have to be addressed. And one of the ways that you do that is through reparations. And, I think that we need to aggressively push for that. And we should have one of the things that I agree with ADOS on is just pushing the issue of reparations. That issue should have been more aggressively pushed during the nomination process. It should have been more aggressively pushed. And I don't think it's too late for us to push that issue. Even if, Biden gets elected, it is not too late to push that issue, because these Democrats, again, cannot win a national election without the Black vote. And they can't win a lot of these elections, like these statewide elections and all that kind of stuff, without the Black vote. So we need to leverage that. And one of the ways is we leverage that is by demanding that they address this issue of reparations. And one thing that we really need to make sure is pushed through is, the Voting Rights Act. That needs to be a top priority. And I know that that's something that the Biden campaign has said that they support. Also, we need to make sure that that Racial Justice Act is passed to deal with these problems that we see when it comes to policing in our communities. So let me go over a couple of other points that, so he talked about how he met with the Republicans and people are making a big deal about that. I don't think that people should be mad at Ice Cube for simply meeting with these people, for meeting with these Republicans and talking to them and stuff like that. I don't think that that alone should be a reason for people to be upset with him. Because I think that that's what, and I'll get to the whole thing about celebrities as leaders and all that kind of stuff in a minute. But I think that that's what leaders should do. Like, if you are aggressively advocating for Black people, that advocacy shouldn't be limited to Democrats. That advocacy should be addressed to all of these elected officials. It should be addressed to both of the parties. Both of the parties should address our issues, be forced to address our issues. And, that's something that you see, for instance, among the pro-Israel lobby. One of the things that they have managed to do is they have both political parties on board with that political agenda of pro-Israel and all that kind of stuff. And it's not just about simply voting. They have managed to do it through leveraging their dollars by putting money behind candidates and pushing their agenda aggressively. We need to push our agenda aggressively. And that's one of the biggest problems that I have with some of these people that are with the ADOS movement. They only aggressively push their agenda towards Democrats. They only go after Democrats for the most part, and they give these Republicans a pass. And I think that that's a mistake. We need to hold both of these parties accountable, and we need to push our agenda aggressively towards both of these parties. So I don't see anything wrong with Ice Cube meeting with the Republicans to discuss, his contract with Black America. I think that he should be meeting with all these elected officials and all the, I just think that people that are serious need to meet with both parties. People from the Democrats and the Republicans. So that brings me to the other issue that I wanted to address, and that's this issue of celebrities as leaders. And it's something that Malcolm X talked about a long time ago. He talked about how Black people are the only ones that have these celebrities as their leaders and stuff, as their spokespeople, actors and singers and all that kind of stuff. Those people, while they're public image is powerful. Like the fact that they have all these subscribers or followers and stuff like that, that is something to leverage. That is significant and it shouldn't be ignored. They do have power with their words. And that's the way it is, unfortunately. Somebody like a Rihanna or something like that. If she puts out some kind of tweet or something like that, or does make some statement on social media, on Instagram or something like that, that's going to reach far more people than like me talking about something, or even some local elected official, or some, even a senator or something like that. They're not going to reach as many people as a celebrity would reach. So I get that they have influence, and I think that that influence should be leveraged. I don't see anything wrong with activists working with celebrities to leverage certain types of messaging and stuff like that, to make sure that certain issues are raised in the public discourse. I think that that's very important. But when it comes to leadership, I don't think that entertainers should be our leaders, as Malcolm X said. Just because somebody can rap and, put rhymes together and sell records, that doesn't necessarily qualify them as some kind of leader or spokesperson for Black people. And even these people that are activists and stuff like that, they don't speak for the whole Black community as a whole. They speak for their organizations, their individual organizations. That's who they speak for. So, I don't think that these celebrities should be our leaders. We need, leaders that have a track record of demonstrated commitment to the people, have a knowledge base so that they can speak about these top issues with authority, because even Ice Cube acknowledged that he was still studying and learning about various things and all that kind of stuff. So that's one point that I had to make in this live stream. And then he talked about how people say that we can't take another 4 years. And he said, well, Black people can take anything, like we've been through everything and all that kind of stuff. And there's some truth to that. Yeah, I mean, we have survived, a Holocaust, the transatlantic slave trade, racist terrorism, Jim Crow, and all that stuff. We've survived. We're the Black survivors, in the words of Bob Marley. But that doesn't mean that we should be okay with another 4 years of Donald Trump. I mean, imagine what can happen to that Supreme Court if he's given 4 more years. I mean, already they are positioning to appoint another justice to the Supreme Court, a right-wing fanatic to the Supreme Court. And the court is already leaning towards the right already. There's already a right-wing balance in the court right now. So if you get this other judge on there, and if Trump is given some more years in the White House and he's able to appoint even more justices, that can have a devastating impact on our civil rights, on our voting rights, on our right to higher education, on our right to criminal justice issues, on all kinds of issues that can affect our lives. We can't afford another 4 years. We simply can't. With all this stuff going on, the police brutality, this failed response to the coronavirus, a virus that has disproportionately killed large numbers of Black people and infected large numbers of Black people, we cannot afford another 4 years. Here we are, over 200, and I think it's like 215,000 people have died from this virus. A disproportionate number of them are Black. We cannot afford another 4 years. So, we got to look at these elections seriously, man. It's not about, like as many people have said, about falling in love with a candidate. It's not about agreeing with every single thing a candidate is advocating for. That's not what this is about at all. It's not about finding the perfect candidate. It's about deciding, of the realistic choices that are on the table, which is the better choice for our community. And to me, I just think that it's plain and clear. Like, it's not even close at all. And we should not allow anybody to deter us from exercising our right to vote. We shouldn't allow anybody to bamboozle us into thinking that somehow Donald Trump has something in store for Black people. So what I'm going to do is, before I go to your comments, I'm going to go to this article that talks about this so-called platinum plan for Black America. So let me share my screen. So this has information about, hold on one second. I don't know why this is locking up. Okay, so here's the article. So, like, this plan was released like less than 2 months before the election. And, it includes prosecuting the KKK and Antifa as terrorist organizations, making Juneteenth a federal holiday in efforts to bolster, the Black economy and stuff. So those are some of the ideas in this plan. But the thing is, like, as this article points out, while he's touting these plans, this is the same man that referred to Black Lives Matter as a symbol of hate. And he even, like, in other statements, he equated it with terrorism. And then he also has defended Confederate symbols. But this is the man that we're expected to believe has some platinum plan for Black people. And he also retweeted some tweet where you had this white supporter shouting white power. This is the man that you expect to actually have some real platinum plan to help Black people. So he has things in here like expanding school choice, which is nothing but an effort to undermine public schools. He says bringing fairness to the justice system. So, just given the track record that I laid out before, like, I don't believe Donald Trump. I don't think he's sincere. I think that, that quote unquote platinum plan is designed to do nothing but to shave off a few ignorant Negroes into the Trump campaign, to support Trump, and also to make these, white moderates feel like, oh, he's not racist, he's doing this and that for Black people. There are just too many examples of the Trump administration's racism for me to believe anything that he's talking about when it comes to this platinum plan. So that's my 2 cents about Ice Cube's statements dealing with this. So I'm going to read your comments. So Lion Champion said, unfortunately, I think Ice Cube is naive. And John Pro said, if Trump was serious, he would have submitted that platinum plan years ago. Exactly. He's going to submit it like right before the election, less than 2 months before the election. And people actually take that seriously. They actually buy this stuff. And it's just a shame. Like, when I see Black people, I mean, Ice Cube is not doing this at all. In all fairness, Ice Cube is not like in the Trump camp. He made statements that made it clear that he was basically neutral, even though he met with Trump. He's not supporting Donald Trump or anything. He's neutral for the most part. And I got to give him respect for that. But yeah, if he was serious, he would have introduced this a long time ago. And I know that he had those quote unquote opportunity zones and all that stuff. But this so-called platinum plan, if it was for real, he could have released this a long time ago, before an election and all that kind of stuff. And it's just another example of politicians trying to pander to voters right before an election day. It's like, I mean, the example of that Malcolm X laid out when he talked about how you don't find these politicians any other time. You can't find them any other time. But when it comes to election time, they're all in your face, all in your churches and all that kind of stuff, pretending like they care something about you and stuff. And this is another example of that. And Demetrius pointed out how Trump is lying. They're busy trying to disenfranchise blacks all over the U.S., taking away polling places, mailboxes, and et cetera. So, yeah, I mean, exactly. Shout out to Dave Bowman. Shout out to Midnight Eyes. Shout out to Nappy Yankee. Shout out to RD Hawk. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, Lion Champion. Ice Cube means well. I believe that he does mean well. I'm not going to, I don't think he has any bad intentions. I think he is very sincere in what he was saying. So I don't question that at all. I just think that there's more information that he should have had access to and all that kind of stuff before he made his statements about a contract for Black America. And I just think that it was, a bad decision on the part of the Democrats not to meet with him and talk about his contract with Black America. Because now they're able to make it seem like, now these Republicans are able to say it, make it seem like, hey, Ice Cube, we met with Ice Cube and all that kind of stuff. Like you had this woman, this coon, what's her name? Katrina Pearson, touting the fact that they met with Ice Cube and stuff. And Lion Champion said he's okay with whoever wins. Yeah, you did get that. I got that impression too. Like, I mean, not okay. Like, I just think he's really indifferent, and he's just like, he's not really expecting much from either one of them. And I can understand why people have that sentiment and stuff like that, but it's just too much at stake for us to take a lackadaisical type of attitude and to try to make it seem like these candidates are both the same when there's so many massive differences between these candidates. Yeah, he does. He is neutral, DJ Wiz. He is pretty much neutral for the most part. Yeah, so Derek mentioned this. He raised a question. He said, "Try to answer the question: why didn't they meet with him?" And I think part of the problem is like, unfortunately, these Democrats think that they have the black vote on lock. Unfortunately, and I think that that's going to cost them. Like all it takes is a small percentage of black people to vote for Trump to make a difference in this election, or a small percentage, a larger percentage of black people to just stay at home. And this whole election could go the other way. I mean, many of us remember how we felt leading up to the election day. Many people thought Hillary Clinton had the election on lock. We just assumed that she was going to be the president and stuff, because all these experts were telling you that Trump was behind in the polls, the same experts that are telling you that on all these major networks. They made it seem like it was hopeless and stuff. But it does. I mean, I just think that they take, us for granted, and they don't realize, like, all it takes is a few black people to decide to vote for Trump to make a difference. You know, places like Michigan, those elections were won by small margins. So every single vote counts, and those Democrats need to aggressively go after the black vote. They can't sit back and think, oh, we got this black vote on lock. It was a huge mistake for them not to meet with him. Shout out to Sandy Girl. Thanks for tuning in. So I'm going through your comments now. So you got this person, 1D Forever, saying that both are hostile. One is polite, the other is rude. I mean, I just laid out all these examples. I mean, if somebody reaches that conclusion, you know, they're just ignoring the facts. I mean, they're both of them are not hostile to black people. You got one that's openly hostile to the black community. Especially now, like, I mean, somebody can dig up some dirt from way back in the day. Shout out to Demetrius Reese. Thank you for your donation to the channel. You know, I truly appreciate your support. So Covina Man said another rapper's sellout. How many times have these rappers brought some BS to politics? So Lion Champion mentioned how, I wish there was a way for me to click on your link, but he cites this article that shows that Trump's opportunity zones are not helping black people. They're just helping rich people. If there was a way for me to, yeah, so that's his post. For some reason on this StreamYard, I can't click your link and show it. Yeah, some comments I'm not going to even respond to. Yeah, I mean it is a very serious situation. I mean, Trump has so many appointees on the lower federal courts and the higher courts. That's really tilted the power in the hands of the right. I mean, all these years after Trump is long and gone from the White House, because of those appointments, it's going to have an influence on the direction of the courts for decades. So I'm just going through your comments now. Just bear with me a second. Yeah, some comments will draw me into a long discussion that I don't want to get into right now. Yeah, so Lion Champion said, why are people still talking about Obama? The only reason why I mentioned Obama is because, like, you know, people keep saying, well, for this video, I mentioned it because basically Ice Cube was saying that no president has done anything for black people, basically. And I was just citing Obama as an example of a president that actually did. And also, I usually mention that, because you have a lot of these personalities on here on YouTube saying that Obama did nothing for Black people. You have both these Uncle Ruckuses and these quote unquote woke people saying this stuff. So I was just raising that point to rebut that particular issue. Yeah, it looks like we got a Trump supporter in the house. I'm just going to ignore him. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just scrolling through the comments. Somebody made a good point that I just missed. So Kia Green said, it's so sad we're still looking for a hero to save us. We got to save ourselves. And she asked, what is Ice Cube going to do? Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's as simple as just finding some messiah or savior to help us and stuff like that. I agree. We do need to help ourselves. You know, and one way of helping yourself is by aggressively pushing an agenda before these politicians. Yeah, I know that guy Billy is a troll. I'm just ignoring him. I shouldn't even mention his name. But yeah, I know already. So that's why I wasn't even mentioning anything that he was saying. Shout out to Doug. It's been a minute since you tuned in. Yeah, so this is going on. You know, I want to shout out somebody real quick. The brother just gave a donation to the channel. Hold on 1 second before I go. Shout out to T-Boy. Thank you for your donation. And T-Boy said, which is why sitting at home is not an option. Yeah, so I don't want to draw this hangout too long, you know, make it drag out too long. I want to thank you all for tuning in. And again, I will be back on here with more video content. I've been taking sort of a break. So unless there's some compelling subject for me to talk about, I probably won't be on here that often for a little bit of time. I'm just taking a short little break from YouTube. But I will be posting recorded videos more often, and I'll probably, you know, after I take this break, I'll probably, you know, post recorded videos every day, and then once a week do these live streams. So with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings, everyone. Thank you for watching this channel. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like this video. You know, I want, you know, everybody that's watching the video to like it. And, you know, encourage people that you know to subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to reach 10,000 subscribers. That's like 400 more subscribers that I need to reach that number. So help me reach that number by encouraging your friends to subscribe to this channel. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe today. Hit that notification bell as well so that you'll know when I post new content on here. And the last thing I want to say is this. I encourage you all to like our book club, Reading as Activism, on Facebook. Each month on the last Saturday of the month, we read a new book. And this October, we're going to be reading this book, When No One Is Looking. It's a thriller written by an African-American woman. So I encourage you all to like the page and to join the discussion. It's going to be on Zoom, so you can join us from anywhere in the country and, in fact, anywhere in the world. So with that, peace and blessings, everyone. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Peace.